Namaskar, everyone. So today we are meeting with an amazing, dynamic personality. She's a force to reckon with. She is highly respected for her contribution to the world in terms of the restoration, the revival, and preservation of India's cultural heritage, not just specific to Baroda. There's a Gaikwad family that she's married to, but in reaching out to many other communities across the country. So let's welcome today Maharani Radhika Raje Gaikwad from the Baroda family. She's born into the Wankaner family of Gujarat. She's a master's in medieval Indian history. She has worked as a journalist in Delhi before she was married into the family. And she has a long list in her contribution. I'll just be able to read out a few. She's presently the vice president of the Maharani Chimanbai Stri Udyogalay. She's a trustee of the Maharaja Fateh Singh Museum, which has one of the largest collection of Raja Ravi Verma paintings. And she's the director of CDS Art Foundation. She is also trying to revive the textile sari weaving techniques of Shalu and Chanderi and making them popular, reach out to a global audience. She has very interestingly one of the very few people from India who has been at the forefront of working with transgender communities. She has also worked with something called the Pink Line Project, where women are trained as drivers for school and domestic transportation to reduce instances of sexual and physical violence. And with that, I would welcome Radhika and hear from her the story. Radhika, do tell us about the challenges you have faced and something that's like been a major setback to you apart from something that's a major success. So welcome, Radhika. We welcome you to this series Beyond the Palace, done in contribution.
Thank you so much for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for a generous introduction.
You deserve
So
much.
Challenges are, I think, we all face in anything that you are starting out on something new, which is uncharted. In this case, working with transgenders is uncharted territory. Not only in Baroda but in many parts of India. It's the Kinnar community especially is still something we look at with great hostility, and we are coming from a place where we want to the inclusivity needs to come in, and we need to start working with them and appreciate and understanding their struggles and their strengths, and how society can benefit by the inclusivity angle. So that is a struggle, but we are determined to get somewhere with that.
So starting with the first question, because we have a set of 5 questions and sort of rapid fire answers. Please share with us any museum memories of any museum you've seen in the world and how that helps you in with your museum, the Lakshmi Vilas Palace Museum and the Fateh Singh Museum. Anything that you could share with us? Funny?
Absolutely. I think I started going to museums from very early on, growing up in Delhi, my father being an IS officer, and both my parents being so interested in, culture, art, heritage. I was always in a museum. And, as a child, you kind of struggle with it because you find it so boring and you find a bench to kind of lie down on. But my earliest memories are from the National Museum, the National Gallery of Modern Art. These were my first introductions to museums. Also, a lot of historic sites like Sanchi Stupa, and of course, over the years with going to the Konark Temple or going to Khajuraho. So there's so many memories of Meenakshi Temple. There are just so many all different kinds of cultural and architectural experiences that I was exposed to. And I had traveled the world, been to all the museums around the world. And so when I got married and came and I saw all these treasures in the house, it was thrilling for me that, I've paid a lot of money, ticket money, to see these objects, which I am now surrounded by. But also that's a huge responsibility, because when you're a custodian of these, national treasures, it takes a lot of out of you to keep them maintained, and the responsibility is huge. But I do enjoy that job.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic that you enjoy being with artifacts, and the amount of work that your trusts are doing in extending it to people and making it accessible is very, very path-breaking. Commendable work. Thank you for that, Radhika. That brings us to the next question, which is like, as a woman entrepreneur, do you think that, are you taken seriously? How was it? What the challenges? As a woman, do you see things that otherwise people don't? Are you able to get the kind of respect that it helps work?
So there are different, I've had different experiences at different phases of life. So when I began as a journalist and I worked with Indian Express simultaneously while doing my master's. So I was 20, and I was covering, art and heritage then as well. And I would, sometimes they don't take you seriously because you're a young person, or sometimes because you're a woman. They kind of brush you away. They don't really want to engage. They don't take your questions seriously. That was as a journalist, initially. Then when I was married in this family, a lot of people again don't take you seriously because they feel, oh, what is she going to understand the struggles, or how will, they don't immediately connect. You have to really, that effort, that ice breaking has to happen from our end. We have to walk that extra mile to build that confidence in the people of society that you are wanting to engage and with. So that has been a struggle. Then as a Maharani, so to speak, the nomenclature that comes with the position, people either expect you to know nothing, or they expect you to know everything. So both ways it can be a trying situation. But over the years, because we've been consistently working, I think there's a lot of acceptance, a lot of support and encouragement that has come from all spheres and all walks of life, people from around the world, in fact. So it's I think times are changing, and I do believe there is a basic goodness in humanity. As we saw during the pandemic, so many people reached out when we were, working. My sister and I were working for artisans in Orissa, and she was, at the ground level. And we were able to raise awareness and bring in a lot of funding from people around the world, people who we'd never met, never seen, just through Instagram and social media. So I think people, that will to help and engage with society is there. It just needs to be channelized. A lot of people don't know how to go about it. So that's how I feel.
So when you are, working with different communities across the country, and I would like to mention this to those who are watching it, that what Radhika is doing with her sister, whose daughter actually you might have heard already, is Yashashwini Kumari Devi. Her video is already up. Is an interesting cultural exchange. It's knowledge sharing where they're putting in their resources, not just their networks, but then education and their expertise in giving a very big push to the languishing crafts of two ends of the country, right? So Radhika, do you when you're talking about local traditions and arts and crafts traditions, um, is there a kind of priority that comes in? How do you plan? What's your business plan? Would you like to share? Is it separate
On
for
my
the different
colony,
communities?
there is no business plan. When I did Puja earlier, a few months ago, which was bringing together artisans from all over the country and giving them a platform in our Sanstha, Maharani Chimnabai Sri Udyogalaya.
Hmm.
Our Sanstha is very beautiful, but it's in a congested area in the city. And we got artisans from around the country. We got those who couldn't travel. We got consignments from them. We got in their wares and we sold it for them. And it was a challenge because we were not sure whether people will be receptive. In the pandemic, Baroda being comparatively a smaller city, how it would really embrace the concept of just an art, craftsmen coming there with their wares. And we did beautifully. There was sales for the artisans alone, which was over 22 lakhs and still counting, because so many orders came from that. So, there is that you get when you start something new, it's uncharted. Like I said, it's, you have this butterfly in your stomach, you don't know, then you're also in the public eye, people are watching you very closely. So you have to put in that much effort, and the expectations of the artisans is also riding on you. But I think if it's planned out, and you have the intention is very, very clear, there's no other hidden agenda, but then to reach out to artisans, I think it works. In this case, I also didn't realize that it would be not just help the artisans who are being able to sell or connect directly with the end consumer, which doesn't happen because the artisans are working in the rural area and creating and are completely, not aware of what the end user is wanting, what the market trends are, what, how people look at objects of craft. So that was the intention. But what it also did was create awareness amongst the local people of Baroda about craft, because there's not that much happening. You see pictures, or you read about it, but you don't actually see the crafts or the interact with the artisans. So you learn to appreciate how much effort goes into those crafts, what are the conditions they are made in, how old the craft is, how many hundreds and thousands of years, like the dokra is such a ancient craft, and other like soof embroidery coming from Sindh. So there's so much history, geography involved in making those crafts, that there was a lot of appreciation that came, and understanding and sensitization towards the crafts and the craftspeople, which I think was the greatest achievement of what through Urja that we were able to do. So you have to keep trying out things, and people are receptive. We just have to give them an opportunity.
Not to sound discouraging or condescending or anything in any way, I'm just curious, you don't really need to do all this. You have enough on your plate. You are a mother of two lovely children. You're a wife, daughter-in-law, daughter, aunt. You have so many responsibilities, even as a Maharani. Why are you doing this? Like putting yourself out there during the lockdown, COVID situation, putting your life at stake, your safety, security also. Apart from the lockdown, there's anything new and transformating happen in Baroda, everybody says, oh, that must be done by Radhika. So how? I mean,
I think, Paulomi, I just grew up in a very, very exposed, being an IS officer's daughter, traveling the country. My father was municipal commissioner of Bhopal when the gas tragedy took place. And I remember him as a small child not being home the entire night. He was the first person who entered the Union Carbide factory. And he was up all night taking, care and, of the people and, of the dead at that point of time. So that accountability and following your passions and giving a voice to causes that you believe in is something I just grew up with. And I've been fortunate enough to be in a position where I have a voice and a platform. So if I don't use it correctly and effectively, what use is it? And I think my children and my husband, they're all very supportive. They understand that. And hopefully, my girls will also learn from that and carry that forward. And our kinds of families, honestly, Paulomi, royal families were really the caretakers, the caregivers for all people, rural and urban. So it's for the family too, it's really something connected with, the causes are entirely connected with my personal causes. They're beautifully aligned.
I mean, I know that how important the royal families have been, because I've studied at Baroda. I'm a student of postgraduate from MSU, and my graduation and schooling is from Jaipur. So both royal families of Jaipur and Baroda, if the families wouldn't have been there, most of us young girls would never have been educated. So yes, I mean, Baroda is already so well known. Baroda, Vadodara, whatever it's referred to. So the next question is, when you are, putting yourself out there, your personal life at risk, your reputation, everything, how do you now in a 21st century place yourself in a very this crazy dynamic, global platform? How do you, what is the future you envisage for Baroda?
I see Baroda future to be again cosmopolitan, because that's how it's been generationally through the time of Maharaja Sajirao. There was, the best were brought in from around the world, from the architects to the sculptors to Raja Ravi Verma, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Aurobindo Ghosh. So the best were, there was none of this reservation or quota that I will only encourage people who are from my state or Marathas or Gujaratis. It was just about excellence. And therefore, that atmosphere was very cosmopolitan, also because Baroda has the art school, which is so famous. And people from all over the world, the country have come and studied here and made it their home. So Baroda has always had this very cosmopolitan air, as well as this exposure to the crafts and culture. Therefore, it's just a revival. For me, it's just an effort to revive all of that, whether it's music, art, all the cultural aspects of Baroda, and it's very receptive. The city of Baroda, state of Baroda was very receptive, and the city continues to be so. So we both, it's a very symbiotic relation. I think, all draw energy from each other. But yeah, I'm very proud to be here and to be able to engage.
Do mention about the Garba that you have revived.
Yes, the Garba. So in 2019, we had organized our very first Garba. It was a huge success. It was called Palace Heritage Garba. And we had over 25,000 people dancing at one time. And it was again done by Mahani Chimna, by Sri Udyogale, in efforts to raise awareness and funds for our causes. And then, of course, lockdown happened. So this year, we did a smaller Garba, again as a fundraiser, which was done in our garden because of the norms. And we had a small Garba with the same whole atmosphere and our entire, troupe of musicians. And it was extremely well received. And it was like the feedback I got was, it was like going back to the olden days when Garbas used to be small, not commercial, and intimate affairs. So yes, it was a cultural, nostalgia. And I'm happy and to be, to have contributed to that. Thank you.
Thanks. And that brings us to the last question, which is how important is social media? Because there are lots of young people, at least in India, we can talk of as we speak, who are watching you on social media, So how do you incorporate it in your activities?
It's a double-edged sword, Paulami. But so far it has been a very, very helpful tool, because especially through the pandemic, reaching out to people was difficult. But individually, I was able to reach out to artisans, help them make little brochures with all the products that they have. Put their prices there, make a code for them. Put in the details of the bank account for the artisan, and then share them on WhatsApp. And people were buying on WhatsApp and helping these artisans. And so that kind of, technology has helped. Same thing with Instagram and Facebook, raising awareness, raising funds. But it's also a whirlwind, it can suck you in. And I see that even with my girls, it's so addictive. And so a lot of things that you can actually do and be productive with, you spend your time seeing what others are doing in their lives. And so one has to really be able to channel it effectively, that it benefits you and whatever work you are attempting.
At the last sort of a question or a request from you, that do you have any advice for young women who are wanting to step out into the field, who are, maybe just newly married or about to get married or don't want to get married? And how do they balance their work, family life, their personal lives?
I'll tell you from my experience, Paulomi, I think it's very important to be able to communicate to the family that you are marrying into, what your intention is, in terms of what you aspire to do in your life, what your personal goals are. You can't, every individual's personal goals don't always merge with the goals of the family. And that's fine. We all are women, we are all individuals, we are all educated and exposed. But it's important to communicate that, because if you don't, then that's when the resentment starts coming. You can't expect people to guess, your families or your extended group or colleagues to understand what you are wanting. So communication becomes key. And that's where trust building happens, and that's where you have the support. It's very hard, and I can say that, like I said, from personal experience, for me it would have been very hard if I didn't have the support of my in-laws and my husband, to do what I do. And of course, I'm more active now that my girls are older. I was less active when they were younger. So you do have to prioritize at every phase of life, what requires your attention more, because as women we all want to be achievers, but very often your children and your family, you are the fountainhead for them of all emotional support and otherwise, especially for children. And nobody else can do that job. So prioritizing is very important, and those priorities can change as your children grow or you grow. Sometimes our priorities change. I can't say I feel exactly the same I did say 10 years or 15 years ago. So I think we all grow. There's more clarity. You declutter. You choose to engage with what you feel you can add value to and what adds value to you. I think that's very important, to understand what you can add value to and what add values to you. So I think as women, if we have that clarity from early on, there will be more harmony in an alignment between how we feel and what we achieve.
Great. Thank you so much. It means a lot to hear what you just mentioned. And you're speaking from an, world of experience. Before we conclude, Radhika, could you please share with us what you have donated for the India for Artisans fundraiser auction on 30th November?
So there is one of the Kashmiri sari border, Sutnik sari border, which is mine, which I have donated, and also an experience to come and have tea with me, to view the Raja Rai Varmas, personally with me. Like you mentioned, we have the largest private collection of Raja Rai Varmas. So to give you a personal round of that, to discuss and understand how I'm engaging with crafts and artisans, and just maybe for a while get a private glimpse into what my life is in the palace, Lakshmi Vilas.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Radhika. I know very busy person you are. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule, and look forward to meeting you soon. And best of luck to you from everyone who's watching you for all the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the watchers.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Bye-bye.